Welcome to this very special Adopt US Kids Facebook Live event. I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone, and especially to our honored guests here today, who are here to help enlighten those listening to the importance of adopting youth from foster care, teens from foster care. Just before we started today, I was given some of the latest statistics, and I'd like to share some of that with you right now. Before I do, I'm April Dinwiddie. I am the host of Born in June, Raised in April, What Adoption Can Teach the World podcast. And I'm just honored to be here in conversation with all of you and, of course, with our guests here today. Before I introduce Ashley and Christian, I want to share with you a few of the latest statistics. As of September 30th, 2018, just released earlier today, there are approximately 437,000 children in foster care today. And of those 437, 125 are waiting to be adopted. And we know that there are teens and young people and youth within that 125,000. And today we're focused on getting a better understanding of that experience and have amazing individuals to share with us their experiences in order, again, to enlighten us all. So I welcome you, Ashley, and you, Christian, for being here today with us. It's all about building relationships and building bonds. And what I want to first ask you, Ashley, is how you first became introduced to your mother and then how that grew into an adoption.
So first of all, in the care, we all have our own social caseworkers, and so does the adopted parents. So they communicate with one another to find the perfect match. And so I found my match through my social worker. The first time I met my mom was at a Friendly's in Massachusetts, which was a really open area, just calming environment. However, of course, you're meeting a stranger for the first time, so you're nervous. But my experience was from the beginning perfect. Her and I connected in a deeper level the first time we've met. So from there, I was very comfortable around her. I did more visits with her, even though we lived 40 minutes apart. To me, it was a great experience, even though it was, nerve-wracking at the same time.
And how did it grow into adoption? How did that?
So it grew within 6 months. The different agencies give you different time period to get to know your family. So it took me actually about 4 months, but it was supposed to be 6 months. Doing all those home visits helped me learn the way she lived and also how I can implement myself into the family. But yeah, the home visits, overnight stays, that made it a lot of comfortable environment for me.
Yeah, and building a bond and building a relationship.
Yeah.
And how about you, Christian? I know that you met the family that you're with today through Wednesday's Child segment, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so I met my parents in December 2017 before Christmas. So, of course, I didn't know them before. They were strangers. So we met at the Varsity in downtown Atlanta. And so we had a meeting there with my caseworker at the time was there, and them too, my mom and dad was there, and me. So we sat down and we ate over lunch. And then, so we, afterwards, I got approved to go on weekend visits. So every weekend, so every Friday, my mom would pick me up, and I would go over there and stay the whole weekend with them.
That's so great. And it was around the holidays. Is that true?
Yes. It was Christmas, and then I was approved to stay with them for New Year's. So I basically stayed with them the whole Christmas break.
And how had staying with them through that time, that holiday time, how has that changed your holiday traditions, and how are your traditions now?
They've changed a lot.
Tell us.
So we'll start with that. Every Thanksgiving, we go to North Carolina and we go get a Christmas tree. And we'll bring it back home and we'll decorate it, and then we'll wrap all our gifts and put up under the Christmas tree. So it's fun.
It's so fun.
Yes.
That's so great. And Ashley, For you, what have been some of the most surprising aspects of joining your family and adoption for you?
Well, to be honest, because I was getting adopted at a very late age, I was nervous that I wouldn't get along with my adopted mother, especially because I've already grown as a person. So the hardest part was getting into a routine, opening up to her. It took a couple months, of course, but I say that's the hardest part, just getting into that routine as a family. Traditions definitely made it better.
What are some of the traditions that you have together?
I mean, we've spent Thanksgiving together for sure, the two of us, because it's just my mom and I. We travel a lot, that's our thing. We've been to London, Paris,
Wow.
Scotland, so definitely traveling is our thing. Getting nails done, of course, and we still see each other a lot.
Oh, that's
to
so
do
great.
things.
So this is a lifetime commitment. This isn't a moment in time. This is a lifelong journey
sure.
that you're on. So there are a lot of parents potentially listening, potential adoptive parents, or people who are considering to adopt a teen from foster care. What would you tell them, Christian? What would be some things that they need to know from you directly, someone that's been changed forever by adoption?
Yes. So I would tell a parent, be patient, because you need to have a lot of patience with the child. Also be consistent. So like when you first meet the child, stay the same. So the child won't, be discouraged by anything or feel any less loved or anything. And then, you want to make them feel comfortable and also loved in the home.
Yeah, did everybody hear that? Patience and consistency.
Yes.
Don't we all wish for that in our lives? But so much so for teens and young adults who are transitioning into a new family structure. I'm going to say it again, patience and consistency, because I think those are two really big messages, and they're so well heard from you. Thank you. And how about you, Ashley? What are some things that, if someone is considering adopting a teen from foster care, what would they need to know, and what do you want to tell them?
Well, my thing is definitely don't be afraid just because they're teenagers and they've been through a lot in their life. They still have to maintain getting better, so meaning they have to see a counselor. So definitely have patience, like he said, because they're obviously transitioning from a trauma now to a comfortable environment that they're gonna potentially be in there forever. So definitely, I would agree with him with patience.
And I have one more question that I want to ask, and I'm encouraging everyone on Facebook to please ask us questions, because we will be taking questions throughout our Facebook Live. So please send away. But before we take a question or two from Facebook, I want to ask you both to reflect a little bit on how this experience of family and adoption has changed and impacted your life, and what would be a message that you would give to a young person, maybe a younger you that was waiting in foster care. What words of wisdom and encouragement might you give them? And Christian, I'll start with you.
All right. I would tell, a younger me, I'd be like, keep your head up. Your time is going to come for you. Just be patient. You're going to have a moment to shine. You're going to have somebody coming for you. Just be patient.
I think that is such a good message to send to young people. And how about you, Ashley?
Don't give hope.
Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
Yes.
Because when I was in the system, when I was told I was getting adopted, I was skeptical about it. But the opportunity for me to get adopted gave me, growth experiences like going to university. So if I didn't get adopted, I wouldn't be able to go to college right now. So don't give up hope. You have a better life out there once you get adopted.
Yeah, lots of messages for our friends and our extended family members out in the world to hear. So thank you for that. And I do have a question from Facebook, and the question is, do you live with your foster parents right away, or is there a time that you do you spend with them? And it sounds like there is, but can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. There is a time period in between.
Yeah.
So, because you want to get to know them. You don't want to just move right in and then, you know, it'd be awkward. You don't know anything about them, they don't know anything about you. It would just be weird. So, you know, there's, of course, there is a time period in between.
Absolutely.
And it's different depending on the state. Some states do like 6 months, or it could be a year. And that's before the adoption is finalized. So you can get used to the family and learn more about each other until the finalization comes.
Yeah, so it's really about relationship building. And
Yes.
you know, you wouldn't ask someone to marry them on the first date.
Exactly.
Right? Is that right? Is that
That's
true?
right.
So you take your time to get to know each other, and you build a bond in a relationship. You get to know the ins and outs of someone's personality and where
Yeah.
you fit. I have another question from Facebook, okay? And what would you tell a prospective adoptive parent that's nervous about adopting a teen? How about you? Yeah, who wants to go first?
Don't be nervous, because they are nervous as much as you are. Just test the waters for sure.
Yeah, right. It's wouldn't it would be strange if we weren't nervous
Exactly.
to enter into some of these relationships and things, right? We're human beings with a lot to bring to the table, and questions and thoughts. So how about you, Christian? What would be your advice if someone's nervous to potentially adopt a teen?
Basically, it's okay to be nervous. I mean, you're gonna be nervous because you're meeting somebody new. It's like, this will be your child for, you know, the rest of your life. So, of course, you can be nervous. You're gonna wonder how they are, and vice versa. They're gonna wonder how you are. They, like she just said, just as nervous as you is.
Another question. And I like this question, but I also, I can't wait to hear your responses to it. You know, why do you think it's important for a teen to have a family? And I think this question, it's a great question, but it's also like, duh, right? Like, you know, but I want to hear from you, because I think it's a great question, and it's one that I think we make a little tiny joke about it, but tell me why you think it's so important for a teen to have a family.
Well, you want to go first? Go.
Yes, I think it's important for a teen to have a family, because like you would want to grow up with a family, right? Like you always gonna have like a missing place in your heart, and you just want a family, you know, to fill that in, like be filled with love, and always want to do stuff. Like who want to miss going out on the weekend with the family, like going to the movies or bowling or, you know, anything to do in your area? But you know, you always
Yeah, you need family,
you just need
Sure.
family.
right? you need people around you, right? Yeah. How about you, Ashley?
And for me is you want to go home to a place for holidays, vacations, you know. You want to spend time with family during vacations that are for family.
Right, and it's we always need our parents, even if we're grown-ups.
For sure.
Right, I'm a grown-up. I need my parents.
You still
right?
call
I need
them
my
for
family.
anything.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. So another question: what are some ways that a family can help you feel settled and comfortable as you enter their family and as you become part of their world and their environment? Ashley, I'll start with you.
I'll say when I first moved in with my mom, she gave me space, but also, so like she gave me boundaries, but also she checked up on me. So she found the good timing of, are you okay? Like, what can I do to help? Let's sit down and talk, you know. So definitely think about giving them space, because it's a huge transitioning period. They're trying to get used to a whole new life. They're figuring out, you know, thinking, what am I going to do for the future? Like, is this going to be my actual forever family?
It's so important, right? To ask questions, be curious, but also give space, right?
For sure.
So I think there's a delicate balance.
Because I know when I was younger, I can probably, you know, spaz out at my mom for asking me too many questions. So definitely give space.
Teens spaz out, that's what they do.
Yes.
Grown-ups spaz out too sometimes, but we won't talk about that. And Christian, how about you?
Yes, like she just said, space. Space is key. But my mother, when I first moved into the home, she gave me space, but we still talked. You know, she would come sit in my room, you know, probably like every other night, and we would like talk till like 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, about my concerns and getting to know them, and she getting to know me. and stuff like that. So space is key.
Yeah, I like that. Right. It's a delicate balance,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And talk about a delicate balance. I have a question from Facebook. That is, it's delicate balance here, and that is how can your family help you process your emotions around your birth family?
Gosh, that's a
right?
really good one.
That's a great question. I'm a transracially adopted person myself, and the balance between family, birth family, adoptive family can be really challenging. So
It's delicate.
yeah, so tell us a little bit about that and how we can help people around us can help us with that.
So, interesting story, but about 2 years ago, my mom took me back to Puerto Rico to see my family. That there was a lot of emotions. She stepped away at certain parts for me to get to know them more and spent more time with them since I haven't seen them in years. But she also was there to support me because you'll have more emotions come up and concerns. So definitely listen, have patience, and just be there.
Yeah, it's great
Support is
advice.
important.
Yeah, it's great advice. And how about for you, Christian?
Personally, I don't know my birth parents, so like my mom and dad is like they're like my birth family to me. But I do have a younger brother, and he's my blood brother, so he's like really the only birth family I know. So when we wasn't in contact when I first got put back into DFACS, it was like my mom was always encouraging me. She was like, "You need to do good and stuff like that, because your brother will want to see you doing good, and y'all gonna get back in contact one day." And of course, we've been in contact for the last couple months.
Oh,
So-
brilliant. I just thank you. Thanks so much for that question, whoever sent that in, because I do think
good
it's an important question. And then I have one more question before we go to our break. How have your parents supported you, and what do you admire most about them? How about you, Christian? How about you first?
My parents support me a lot. They just don't, uphold me in wrong. If I do anything wrong, she don't uphold me in that, of course. But everything I do right, she upholds me in my right doing. So like, she's like my personal cheerleader.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
Yes.
That's a really good way of putting
I
it.
love that. And what do you admire most about your parents?
Everything really. Like, we're just funny. We're just funny people, and I like funny people. Like, giving me a good laugh is what can cheer up my day if I'm having a bad day. And she always makes me laugh, so, and vice versa.
Big and little things, right? It's the things that, everyday things and big life things that you have. It's beautiful. Thank you. And how about for you, Ashley?
Gosh, one thing I admire about my mom is she's always there. Through phone call, knocking at my door unexpectedly. So that's what I love about her. If I ever have a problem, I know who to go to, and I know that she'll be able to fix it. So support, doesn't matter if it's financially or something that I'm going through, she'll be there to listen.
Well, we could talk for hours. I appreciate you so much, and I know that our audience does as well. We're going to go to a break, and we'll see some new creative from Adopt US Kids and the Ad Council and the Department of Health and Human Services. But I do want to thank you both for being here. And we will be going to a quick break and sharing with you some new PSAs from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council. These PSAs will be launching soon, and we hope you enjoy them, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
From the moment we met, it felt like we fit.
Thank you for showing me what unconditional love looks like.
We are better when we are together. My life feels complete with you in it. Aw.
There's are so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
I ain't never felt so much love before in my life.
Thank you.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner!
Go. Excellent. Yeah, I saw you guys out there.
Hi, welcome back. We have some new friends joining us on this Adopt US Kids Facebook Live. Nate and Tika, both adopted at 21. So you both share in that experience, and we're, again, super grateful that you would be here and share your experiences to help inspire, enlighten, and educate those watching. So we have to start from the beginning in terms of the relationship and what led to adoption for you. And tell us a little bit, Tika, about that, that relationship that led to an adoption.
Okay, so for me, the family was actually my best friend's family.
Yes.
It was a time where I would just go visit, and it was me hanging out with my best friend, nothing more. And eventually I ran into some tough times when it came to my family, entered foster care, and then later down the line, I ended up in independent living, still not adopted. And life was becoming a little bit more challenging, and I needed more structure and guidance. So I spoke to my family about moving in with them, just as a first step to help me not make poor decisions. And eventually, me staying with them kind of led to a conversation of adoption.
Wow, that's a journey, right?
Correct.
Right, okay. And how about for you, Nate? Tell us about your being adopted at 21.
Oh, well, I had met my mom when I was 15, my freshman year of high school, and had gone from meeting her to, going from a group home to a foster home. After I had left the foster home, I was looking for somewhere to go and was calling all my contacts. I called her because we had always remained close. And she made it seem like a no-brainer, like, just come on in. Like, what were you thinking? Like, you should have been here the whole time.
Right. So there's that moment when something clicks and you think, okay, this is going to happen. But then there's like the relationship building, and we just saw a PSA. One of the PSAs really is in 60 seconds creates this narrative of what it's like to be welcomed into a new family, and then how there's some comfort in that. And so Nate, I want to start with you. It's one thing to know someone, it's one thing to live with them. So tell us a little bit about what resonated for you from the PSA.
Oh, I think you guys hit that right on the head. I mean, I had moved in with this family, and obviously there was no photos, there was nothing of me in the house. And within a short amount of time, I'm everywhere in the living room. And I'm plastered I felt like I was famous in the house. It was great.
Yeah, it's important. Those are some touches that really make someone feel like they're welcome. And part
Very
of
heartwarming.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And how about for you, Tika? From friends, parents to family. Tell us a little bit about the building of the relationship once you were living in the same place.
For me, I already knew the family, my parents, but I never lived with them.
Right.
So living with someone is completely different than occasional visit here and there. So there wasn't an adjustment time, you know, for all of us, not just for me, for my dad, and for my mom. But my mom was far more, you know, she's very loving. Not saying my dad isn't, but she was the one that kind of made the house feel like a home. And so, yeah, it took some time, but it worked out.
What were some of the things that she did to make the house a home for you?
Even as an adult, my mom still reads to me.
I mean,
you know, I call her when, you know, when I need help with school, you know, she would help me with my homework, and here I am, an adult. You know, she'll sit next to me at the dinner table and help me with my homework, college algebra, or whatever the case may be at that point. But, you know, my dad would always talk to me about, you know, just being professional, speaking, the way you present yourself, how you carry yourself. And so those are things that I weren't taught previously. So when they opened their home to me, they kind of educated me on just different aspects on life going forward.
Well, thank you, Mom, for reading to Tika, and thank you, Dad, for giving her such presence and poise and encouraging that in you, because it's working. what they're doing and what they've done is working. You mentioned something to me before, Tika, about the lifelong commitment of family in the different ages and stages. You were adopted at 21.
Correct.
And your life has dramatically changed between now and then. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm married with 2 kids, graduated from Strayer University. And it was a process that my parents were involved in every step, you know, attending the graduation, being there for my kids. And it was something, when you're in foster care, you don't really consider, or not even foster care, just being adopted, you don't think about life after adulthood. You know, you kind of focus on what you're going through and trying to make it out the struggle in a sense. But there's so much more to life. You know, there's so many more life events and just events in general that you want to share with someone. And I'm glad that my parents were there to share it with me.
Oh, that's so great. And Nate, you mentioned the time that you were adopting, that you were being adopted at 21. What was happening for you at that time and that transition into family? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I had moved in with my parents when I was 18, and it did take me a little while to realize what I really wanted. I knew that they loved me. I knew that they cared about me. It was more of like me accepting all of that and being okay with it. And as much as I love them, it just took me a little while until I was 21 to realize exactly where I wanted my life to go and who I wanted there with me.
And we talked a little bit about today, earlier, about now that your family is, because life events have happened with you as well since 21 to now, and now how time with family is so precious and different than it was. So what are some of the things that you do as a family today?
Oh, I mean, because we are all spread out, you know, around the world, we still all enjoy the same traditions that I was taught when I had moved in, you know, dancing around like a fool. We do a Christmas song every year. Everybody does one line, and my mom puts it all together and makes it look all pretty. You know, taking trips together. Those are all the things that I think we all have mutual fun with. And, you know, we enjoy spending time with each other. Like, that time is so much more precious now that we're all adults.
Right. And you mentioned some of the favorite things you like to do together. What are some traditions? The Christmas song. What are some of the other traditions that your family shares together?
Oh, man. We have a Christmas chicken that is passed around every year, and you sign it what year you had it. The objective is to give it to somebody, the following person, without them really knowing about it. So, you know, you hide it somewhere to where they open it and they find it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But that's a running tradition that we've had for years.
Oh, that's so great. And how about you, Tika? What are some traditions that you have in your family? Celebrating holidays or reading together could be a tradition too.
We normally gather at, you know, an aunt or family member's house, and we're just there to celebrate, embrace family. We don't really have too many traditions, and I think we would appreciate, we just like things a little settled.
Like time together.
Correct. Just enjoying each other's energy in a sense, and everybody being together under one household, because sometimes everybody's too busy with life, or it's just, we get to celebrate each other in life in general, and that's the time where we get together around the holidays.
I love that. So now we have people watching and on live on Facebook, and they may be curious about something. So I want to ask a couple of questions related to that. If someone is considering adoption and then maybe adopting a teen or a young adult from foster care, what advice would you give them, Tika? What are some things that they need to know from someone who has shared in that experience of being adopted at 21?
Do it.
That's it.
Just do it. So for my advice, it would be all the negative statistics that's around foster care and adoption. Don't allow that to cloud your thought about the process. We've been through a lot, and we just appreciate some patience. We need a little bit more time, a little bit more love. And eventually we'll come around. Don't allow the negativity that surrounds foster care and adoption to kind of consume you. All the kids just search for love. They just have a different way of projecting it or making that statement.
And how about you, Nate?
Sorry, could you repeat that one?
Oh, absolutely. What advice would you give for parents that may be considering adoption?
Oh, I mean,
of an older youth or a teen?
I think the idea is somewhat of, a fear that these kids may not accept you or that they may be too much to handle. But realistically, they're just kids. They've got big hearts and they may have been through things like everybody else. But, they're there to love and be loved. And I think you should just go for it. There's nothing to be afraid of.
And then one more question for our friends watching. What has adoption meant to you, and what would you give for advice for young people today that are waiting in foster care or that are thinking about, well, adoption? Yeah, that might be something for me. What would you tell them, Tika?
So what would I tell a kid that's waiting to be adopted, and what was the second part?
Well, what has being part of a family meant to you?
Everything. It was something that I didn't realize that I wanted until I was actually in the situation. My parents are great, my family's great, and it was something that I kind of had to be honest with myself and kind of say, okay, do I want to feel like I'm alone in this world, or is it something that I want to give a family a try? And it's kind of unfolded that way. So me moving in was like the first step. And then I watched how my family would interact, my siblings, how we got along. And from there, I just enjoyed the environment. It was some positivity for me outside of the cold, cruel world that I was raised in, or I kind of had to struggle to live in. And once I was in it, I felt so at peace. It came so natural, it's so organic. And you just have to be honest. Like, don't fight the feeling. Be honest with yourself, be open. Because if you keep hiding what you want, you're never going to be able to reach that, just that point, that feeling.
Great advice, amazing advice. And how about for you, Nate? What would you say to maybe your younger self?
My younger self, I would have told myself just to be, who you are. There's people out there that love you no matter what quirkiness, what you got going on in your life. There's people that just match you. And for my situation, my family matched me spot on.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. I do have a question from Facebook.
Yeah.
It's a very good question, too. How can a parent show love if maybe kisses and hugs are not we're not quite there yet? If it feels a little awkward, or what can a family do that's welcoming you if kisses and hugs don't work for you? What can they do to make you feel comfortable and loved?
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. As close as me and my family were when we had met, I wasn't very comfortable with the emotional part of everything. you know, so they had taught me how to sit down and have a conversation, explain myself, where I'm coming from, where they're coming from, and to understand, I guess, my emotions better. Because I used to just kind of shut down and be quiet, and my mother is very good at pulling me into the room. What's wrong? Why do you feel that way? Which I had been to therapy a million times, but never with a parent or somebody that loved me so much and was willing to pull that information out. And I didn't need hugs and kisses. You know, I needed somebody to talk to, and that built our relationship so much more.
So there's all kinds of support and love to be shown.
All kinds of
all
it.
kinds, in different ways and times. And it sounds like also for parents to be curious and ask questions like, is it okay that? Or how about this? I think those are all really great ways in which families can show their love and support. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how about for you, Tika? Is there something you would add to that in terms of what are ways in which families can show love, even if they're not hugging or kissing you? And the hugs and kisses are important too, but sometimes that's just not where we are.
I agree. I agree with Nate. For me, it was my space, timing, and, you know, communication. You know, I'm not, in the beginning, it's really, you know, you're in a whole new situation, a whole new home. You have to understand that you bounce from home to home, and even though this may be your forever home, it's still, you're still learning. You're learning each other. And so sometimes just a simple conversation, hey, what do you like? Where would you like to go? What do you enjoy doing? Are great ways to be curious, open the line of communication, and eventually lead to the hugs and kisses.
This is why we have the experts here. Another question from Facebook, which is a great question. Oh my gosh, there's so many good questions, so thank you, keep them coming. What parts can dad play? What part can dads play? And what advice would you give to dads? Such a good question, right?
Yeah, so my dad's been actually the only dad, you know, in a sense. When I was placed in foster homes, they were predominantly just women only. So it was an adjustment, but my dad actually kind of lightened the mood for everything. He was the person that I would kind of go to and like, okay, Dad, I need to talk to you about, you know, school. What best route to take when it comes to, you know, applying for jobs or applying for scholarships, things like that. You just have to find what it is that you can kind of take and build off of there. You know, not all dads going to play the same role, or they're all not going to play the same position. So you have to figure out what is needed for that kid or that person and kind of build on top of that.
Again, great advice. How about for you, Nate?
For me and my dad, I mean, my dad is a little more on the quiet side. So when he does speak, it's like wisdom just coming out. So, you know, I mean, from teaching me how to do my taxes to teaching me, you know, to be a gentleman, you know, opening the door and things like that. He was very, very good at, you know, teaching me those things.
Well, we need our moms and our dads. I think that was a really nice question to come in, just to give us a fuller picture.
Absolutely.
So that was great, and really thank you for sharing. People on Facebook want to know, where are you now in your lives, and how has your family contributed to where you are? Nate, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I have, you know, I'm older now, so I moved out of the state where I was raised and where my family lives. But I mean, they play day to day, you know, a role in my life. Calling my mom if I need help for anything, if I have any questions. My younger sister is now getting her master's in psychology, so she just calls to chit chat and see how I'm doing. Now in my life, I think the time we spend together means so much more. And I think we're it's closer than we even were when we lived in the same quarters.
Wow.
Yeah, it just means so much.
Wow. Well, that's thank you, and that resonates, right? We need our families throughout our life cycle, and our relationships change and grow, and are maybe different, and so that's thank you for
Still
sharing.
always looking for guidance.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And how about for you, Tika?
For me, my family still plays a major part. Anything major going on, I'm calling my mom like, hey, Mom, you know, I just need to talk to you. Like, and sometimes she'll just say, okay, like, let's talk or let's pray. Like, her voice is actually kind of soothing to me, kind of therapeutic. And as for my dad, you know, he's kind of more of the jokester. So I kind of talk to him, and it's just like everyday kind of conversations. And it's something that's kind of needed in the balance of my life because, you know, being a stay-at-home mom, like, it's just me and my kids, you know? And so my dad kind of helps me stay focused on, you know, stay focused and kind of relax at the same time. You know, he's very stern when it comes to like, okay, well, if you're going to apply for jobs, maybe you should look at this. Think outside of the box, in a sense. And my mom's very just loving in a sense. And although I don't live in the same state as them, they live in Florida and I live here, this is always home. You know, this is where the adoption came from. This is where, you know, their house they lived in was where I call my home. And I have a great relationship with my siblings. So it's just like he was saying, like, I feel like I'm a lot closer to my family now than, you know, even living in the house.
Well, I have had the pleasure of witnessing you as a mom, Tika, and I have to say that you're an amazing mom, and for sure, it seems as though that impact of family has contributed to how you mother and your commitment to being a mom. So it's been a joy to be able to see that. So thank you for letting me witness that, and I just want to make sure the world knows that Tika's an amazing mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, exactly, right? It all comes back around. And so another question on the subject of bonding. What were some of the things that really bonded you to your family? It sounds like reading and things like just the everyday things, but were there other things that maybe even surprised you that were bonding moments, maybe even conflicts that turned into bonding moments? Can you share a little bit about that?
I can start if you don't mind. I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
You know, all of it was a learning experience. You know, even the issues we would have were learning experience that were bonding moments. My parents pulling me aside, trying to figure out what's wrong. You know, maybe not the situation itself, but it may be something that reminded me something of my past, and they want to know. And just those moments of them pulling me aside and wanting to know and having these questions, these concerns, I think pulled us closer than ever, because it showed me how much they really cared and how much, you know, I meant to them, that I was distressed, and they want to know answers.
You had said something to me earlier, Nate, about you know, the first real adult support that you had. And when you had that it sounded to me, and even the way you describe your family and the exuberance in your voice when you speak of the family that you're a part of now, just speaks to the bonds that have been made throughout time.
I mean, we've been through a lot together, you know. We've had our ups, we've had our downs, but through it all, we've just become closer, you know, from traveling to, you know, just being dorky, and, you know, everything I feel like has brought us closer.
Great. And Tika, how about you? And then we have to wrap up.
For me, I know that I didn't say this earlier, but my family actually knew my biological, you know, father. So they were there through the entire process. They actually saw me or see me transition from a teen to the woman that I am there. And for me, they were the only people that kind of saw that transition outside of, you know, my social worker and things like that. So they were always there for me whenever I moved from home to home or from independent living to a different system. So that was major to me, maybe not to them, but they were consistently there when I needed them. And to be a little bit more, when it came to my dad, we'd go to the gym or, you know, we just do certain things, and that was our time to bond together.
So it sounds like the big things, consistency over time, and the little things.
Correct.
And we have to wrap up, but again, we could talk for hours, and I appreciate you so much, and also to Christian and Ashley for being here, and to all of you for being with us. If you would like some information about adoption, adopting a teen or an older youth from foster care, visit the Adopt US Kids website, adoptuskids.org, or you can call 1-888-200-4005. That's 1-888-200-4005. And we appreciate you for joining us today. And once again, to our amazing panel for sharing. We appreciate you, and thank you.